Right, Steve.
Yes, John.
Welcome to episode 12 of the Cornermen podcast.
12.
I know we're getting through, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good last year, and I think we're going to have a cracking run this year.
Yeah, cool.
So to kick it off,
yes, what we gone for?
We've gone for faith and doubt.
Ooh.
Well, you went for it.
Well,
I sent you a couple of suggestions. You said, I'll have that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway,
it's going to be. I've got faith this is going to go okay. But I doubt it because I messaged you that this morning.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's all about. And I was interested, so I started thinking about this, and I thought if we do faith and doubt, I thought we'd predominantly talk about faith, and we might talk about doubt as an integral part of faith.
Interesting.
That was the way it first struck me.
I thought. Well, see, I went more doubt.
Oh, okay. Well, you see, that was the really interesting thing. When I started thinking about it, I thought, no, doubt is amazing. Doubt is brilliant. Doubt is at the core of all of this. Doubt is the most important
is brilliant
thing.
That should be a new slogan.
Yeah.
Everyone needs someone in your corner. Doubt is brilliant. Yeah. Keep on doubting on.
Yeah. Don't worry about doubt. So, but I did think that was really interesting. So I just want to talk about faith. And I also, we often talk about these things that are interlinked. And often we take the first one and we talk about that, and the second one comes in. And I'd say the first one is the big thing we talk about, and we talk about something related to that. But fear and doubt are so inextricably interlinked for me in the way I've been thinking about it. And I think like doubt might even be the bigger part of the subject.
Right.
But I suppose if we start off with faith, and we need to define a few of the things we're going to talk about. Now, I want to talk about faith in the way that everybody thinks about faith, in the sort of theistic way.
Sorry. George Michael came.
Oh yeah.
When you say everyone thinks about faith, I go George Michael. Is that
nobody's done the song about doubt? He didn't do a corresponding song, did he? So there you go.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
So so faith, and I also want to talk about that in a secular way of having faith through life, and faith and doubt.
Faith in other people.
Yes.
Faith in yourself.
Yeah. And faith in that things
that's something we come across.
Faith in that things are going to work out.
Yeah,
and you're always wrapped by the
especially if
doubt
we're tying it to the service. Faith in yourself is a massive thing we come across, linked with doubt, and then faith in other people, because sometimes you've been let down by other people, so it's very hard to have faith. So yes, absolutely.
So I want to talk about it first of all in the sense that a lot of people will think about faith as in faith in a religious faith, and I have to start off by laying my cards on the table and saying that I have a Christian faith. So I do believe in that. But then I was thinking about that, and I was interested in, so you have, and people always want this kind of cast iron faith. I think you've said as well, some people that come into the service are thinking, and they know they would like a faith. Yes. And they're kind of waiting for this kind of Damascene, blinding light conversion moment. They go, I get it now. Yeah. It's all done. Yeah. And it's like, to me, I've known some people that's happened to, but I think it's more of for most people, it's more of a gradual process. And I also think it's a continual process. It's just like exercise, really. You want to get fit, you have to work at it. Yeah. And then when you get fit, you have to keep working at it. It never stops. It constantly goes on. It constantly goes on. And so, so I think that's the way I kind of look at faith as well. And people also want faith without doubt, because they think doubt is the enemy of faith. And doubt will destroy your faith. And a lot of people, as well, as a child, growing up, lots of people have that when they have this almost blind childlike faith. When they're what they believe, what they're told. Yes. So you're told this is how it is, this is what happens. There you go.
Everyone else is wrong.
Yeah, everyone else is wrong. And then something happens, and you think, oh, well, that's not really. You then doubt, and once that little sort of Jenga block is pulled out, you're like, well, why did my rabbit die, or something, whatever.
Oh, don't bring that up, John.
No, sorry. You end up with this cascade, and you end up, right, I have no faith anymore, because the doubt has crept in and the doubt has destroyed the faith. But if we go right back to the sources of this faith, like my own faith in Christianity, now look at Jesus. Now Jesus, we believe, was fully God and fully man, but being fully man, doubt manifests itself in Jesus through the Bible. And so if you look at in the Garden of Gethsemane on the night before the crucifixion, there is definitely a lot of doubt there. There is he went and he prayed.
I don't blame him.
And he sweated. Well, he shouldn't have if he was God incarnate and if he knew all this, and he and the idea is as well, he treats a lot of Christian theologians. He could have summoned loads of angels and not gone through the crucifixion, but he knew he had to go through it, even though he could have done that. He didn't do that. But there was definitely doubt in there, because because he begged, Father, take this cup from me. I don't want it. Basically said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But then he kind of relented a bit and said, but your will be, not mine. So in other words, my will is we don't do this. But your will be paramount. But there's definitely doubt in there. There's definitely, like they're saying, he's even sweated blood. And then obviously on the cross, you've got that moment where he says, "Father, why hast thou forsaken me?" Now that is the ultimate, really, in doubt. You know, it's that you've forsaken me. This isn't what it was supposed to be. So he's expressing a lot of doubt there, and I think that's integral because he was fully human as well, and we are full of doubt. And we're full of doubt, and we're not in control, and we like to think we are in control, and when the control is taken away, the doubt comes in.
Yeah.
I mean, also, if you look at Muhammad, when Muhammad first went up the mountain outside Mecca and received the first revelations, you know, in 610, he came down the mountain, and you'd have thought somebody that's just received a revelation from God and been told you're a chosen messenger would be like, I knew I was important. Listen, lads, I've got something great to tell you. But he wasn't. He was wrapped with doubt. And he actually considered suicide, considered throwing himself off a cliff because he thought maybe these are evil spirits, maybe I'm possessed by evil spirits. You know, I don't know what's going on. I can't handle this, basically, you know. And so he was racked by doubt and considered suicide to kind of end that.
Wow. Yeah.
So, you know, there's that as well. And then if you go back, and we're going through all the Abrahamic faiths now,
Okay.
but if you go back through the Old Testament, you look at David, you know, David, his Psalms are shot through with doubt.
Yeah.
You know, and doubt and worry and fear and all these totally human emotions. So I think
integral part of being human.
I think it's an integral part of faith as well. And I think this is what's important, because if you look at those standards, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, do you know what I mean? Your guiding light had doubt. And I think that's an integral part of the human experience. And because faith is a kind of a cross between the divine and the human.
But do you think doubts are essential? Because if you just take everything that you have as face value, it's not really a faith. You're just taking everything. If you've doubted something, you've questioned it. And if you've questioned something, you've pulled it apart.
Yes.
And if you've pulled it apart and you've looked at every angle and you still kind of go, actually, I still believe that, or that I get it now, or I understand a bit more, surely it makes it more stronger. Whereas if you're some people are just like, that's what you believe, that's what you've been brought up, that's the truth. Okay.
Yeah,
and you
absolutely.
go off, you know, well, is that faith or just like brainwashing?
In my own faith journey, which I didn't really have a faith, you know, until I was about 40 years old, and I got to the stage where because I pushed it away, because I had too much doubt about it, so I dismissed it.
Yeah.
And then because I dismissed it, I got to that stage. Like C.S. Lewis says that great thing: if you look at Christianity, if it's true, it's the most important thing in the world. If it's false, it's of no importance whatsoever.
Yeah, is that mere Christianity?
Yeah,
that's a great book.
But what it can't be is of middling importance. So in other words, what I'm saying to you is it's worth looking into.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just dismissing as not that important. And I got to that stage where I was like, look, you know, I'm kind of drawn to this a little bit. I kind of like the idea, but I dismiss it because I have these doubts. And I kind of don't want to take that step of faith because I think I'll be disappointed. So I don't want to do that. But then I thought, this is so important, I'm going to have to do this. So I did exactly what you did. And I think a large part of my reasons for my dismissal and my doubt were that sort of empirical Renaissance idea of reductionism and, you know, working everything out and does this stack up? What are the facts? And I did apply that to it, and I pulled the idea apart, you know, as far as I possibly could, and I did come to the conclusion that I think, you know, that in all possibilities, the greatest possibility must be that it's true. So,
and I think it's a very personal thing as well.
It is, yeah. And then you've got to take, and then you take that, that first step.
People, you know, and because you know, people will look at it, especially people with a kind of scientific, analytical mind. Faith is a very hard thing to do because.
But there are a lot of Christian scientists.
Oh, okay.
I think that's worth saying. There are a lot of Christian scientists, and especially a lot of these scientists have come to faith after drilling down in a way into the particles of the universe, and the laws of the universe that sit there like gravitational laws, certain constants that we have. And, you know, looking into and thinking, this is so miraculous, this is so marvelous. I can't believe that this is purely accidental. And so they get their faith actually from that. So, you know, and there are lots of those about.
Yeah, great. Okay, fair enough.
So yes, but I think even then, when you get faith, you need to keep working on that faith, and you need to keep developing that faith.
Yeah.
And the only way you can work on that is by.
Do you think people think soon you're going to get some kind of magical microchip that there's going to be? You understand everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You understand everything because you understand everything in a certain context. And you don't need to question anything anymore.
Yeah.
And I think you need to constantly keep questioning, constantly wrestle. I mean, that's what I like about that beautiful idea that, you know, after Jacob wrestled with God in that, you know, in that Bible story when
popped his hip out.
Well, God popped his hip out, yeah, and he walked with a limp after that. So he wanted to cross the river,
proper gangster,
and he wouldn't. And an angel who he didn't recognise wouldn't let him cross and said, "I'll wrestle with you if you wrestle with me." So he wrestled with the angel all night, and at the end, he popped his hip out and said, I'm going to rename you now. I'm going to rename you Israel. You're no longer Jacob. Your name is Israel. Israel means he who wrestles with God. And now Israel, obviously, is the old, our understanding biblically is that's the people of God. But it's not the people of God. It's the people who wrestle or struggle with God. And I think to have a true faith is a constant struggle with God because you are human. So you're not perfect. You don't arrive at this thing. And what do we get if we take faith and we remove all doubt?
What do we get, John?
Oh, okay, you're throwing out my back.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah.
We get fundamentalism.
Right, okay.
We get blind fundamentalism, which I think is actually the opposite of faith.
We could cut it so that I say fundamentalism.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll get the credit. Mark will do that. So you get blind fundamentalism. And funnily enough, we live in a world now, even despite all the things we've talked about, the empirical reductionist, scientific mindset, we live in a world kind of beset by fundamentalism, beset by religious fundamentalism. I mean, who could have predicted? The way we look at it is like when these things happen, you know what a jihadi is, you know what a jihad is, you know what Islamic fundamentalism is. But if you go back 50 years, people wouldn't have known what those words meant. They wouldn't have known what it was talking really until the Iranian Revolution in 1979. They were like, people were like, what the hell is happening here? This is kind of a massive backward step. Why are people doing this? But that has been to a spur to a lot of things. So that kind of fundamentalism, the Islamic fundamentalism, has come on when we thought that was all long dead and gone. If I had this conversation with someone 50 years ago and was saying, about Al Qaeda, about Afghanistan, about all these sort of things, they would have thought that's not going to happen. That's a real retrograde step. But you also get Christian fundamentalism. You get a lot of this fundamentalist faith is kind of on the rise. And to me, fundamentalist faith is fundamentally, faith without doubt. And I think faith without doubt, is not really worth it. I think it's brittle, it's unmoving. You're not struggling with God anymore because you've worked it all out. It also leads to pride because you've got all the answers.
And it's probably antagonistic to doubt. So as soon as you start doubting, it's quite antagonistic towards it.
Totally. It's not. You're not allowed doubt. Because surely when because you've already got the answers.
Because I would imagine. Well, from my understanding, most religions is about love.
Yeah, I think that's
the ultimate. Boil it all down.
Yeah.
You love your God and love your brother as yourself.
Yeah.
So that's always interesting.
And there are
for me
examples
that
shot through that in the Bible and the Quran about how to treat people, how to treat visitors, how to treat strangers. It always fascinates
me that's not the main message that people get hold of.
No.
I love the people who agree with me.
Yeah.
Everyone else.
Well, Jesus said, "Love your enemy."
Exactly.
And in the Quran it says, any man who kills one person kills the whole of humanity.
Yeah.
It takes a life, it kills the whole of humanity. Any man who saves a life saves the whole of humanity. So like I say, these messages are fairly blunt, aren't they? They're fairly like, listen, you can't really misinterpret this.
Yeah.
But yet people do. But they misinterpret through that fundamentalist prism where they say, well, and I don't think those people are particularly listening. I mean, also, I think that fundamentalist idea that I'm saying to you wasn't there 50 years ago is creeping through into our secular society quite a lot. We look at this polarization and division.
Yeah.
And, people on either side refuse to accept that they're wrong about anything. And they fundamentally say, I have the answers. I have the absolute answers. I am right and you are wrong.
Well, they paint
there is no aspect of anything you say that's right.
A lot of the language people use is painting the other side as kind of subhuman, idiot, nothing redeeming about them at all.
Yeah.
The language that is used is...
Well, and that's an easy mindset to get into, because if I'm right and you disagree with me, right, I have no doubt that you are wrong. I have no doubt that I am right. Therefore, there must be something wrong with you. I know you're not enjoying this example. There must be something wrong with you.
I'd happily admit there's lots of things wrong with me.
So if I can other you, and like you say, the best way is subhuman you, it explains in my worldview why you're doing this. And to be honest with you, if you can't agree with me, I think the best thing is if we just put you down.
Yes. Well, I understand it. I'm a football fan. I hate when I go to football. I hate the person stood over there for no other reason that the colour of the shirt they're wearing, and I'm going to shout abuse at them. But we're exactly the same. We're there to support our team. Yeah. We separate, and people there's more and more of it. It's my team, and everyone else I don't agree. Whatever. I hate everybody else. Yeah. If you're not on my team, you're wrong. And even down to what I've found interesting, that you would say that people don't believe in religions so much anymore, but down to people thinking that they're almost, you have to agree with every element of what they think or you're out. Yeah. So you can't. There's no kind of nuance of, Well, we broadly agree on the same thing.
Well,
you need to agree exactly what we think, or otherwise you're a Nazi or you're a left-wing communist. Well, hang on a minute.
Yeah. So this is fundamentalist thought, which does not permit doubt.
But it's got much more secular, like you say.
Yeah. So the secular version of it.
Same mindset.
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
Same as.
And this is why when I started thinking about it, I was saying this doubt is so integral and human and beautiful and allows you to struggle with God in the religious sense, allows you to understand other people and constantly tease and expand and make better your ideas on the human side. This is what doubt does. This is why doubt is so wonderful.
Well,
doubt is you need it.
Essential is what we're saying.
Absolutely essential. Essential. I think doubt is essential to faith, whether that's a theistic faith or whether that's a secular faith. I think you must have doubt. If you don't have doubt, doubt is a human characteristic. It's a wonderfully human characteristic that allows development and growth. Now, it's got to be balanced because obviously it can be debilitating.
Yeah.
And what often causes doubt is challenge. So, a challenge might make you doubt yourself. So, I mean, you take the boxing analogy because we're sat in a boxing club.
Yeah.
That you might be boxing someone, you think, I'm going to beat this guy. The worst thing you think is, I'm going to beat this guy easy. This is going to be a walk in the park. Then you go out and it becomes hard. That's when your doubt comes in. Because that's when your fundamentalist mindset of like, I can't be beaten and I'm going to beat this guy is like, oh my God, what's happening? So everything can kind of fall apart then. If you get kind of knocked, you think this shouldn't be happening, but it is happening.
Yeah.
And so the doubt creeps in. And so if you had that doubt in the first place, be like, right, I need to adjust now. I need to do things differently. Whereas if you're just like, this can't be happening.
In the service, we call it a bit, because we call it praising ourselves. So because like you're saying, you don't want someone to completely doubt themselves.
No.
But it's good for us to sort of know where our weaknesses are or where we want to improve. So we're often encouraging people not to go too far down the self kind of, I'm so bad, so that they get lost in it. But we're often encouraging to say, well, you've got to be honest, maybe there are some areas you need to improve in. For the betterment of your life. But you need to sort of have when you go and see you have an appraisal. Okay, where am I doing well?
Yeah.
And where am I not doing so well?
Yeah.
And you need to recognise that, because if you don't know where you're not doing well, you can just, really mess things up. But if you need to sort of, like you say, analyse yourself, have a bit of doubt, hang on, am I as great as what I could be? Where am I going wrong? Am I going to win this fight, or is there areas I need to address? So it's encouraging people to sort of just have this kind of balanced review. So
yeah. Oh, well, it's getting that balance in life between faith and doubt. And I'm not talking now in the secular sphere. We all kind of live in faith, and the stronger you live in faith, generally, the better your life is. Not, but you need that doubt as well.
Yeah.
So, for example, at one point there was a conversation or thought in my head where I thought, well, why don't I build a boxing club? Make a boxing club. And it's like, well, it's not there at the moment, but I have this idea, and maybe I could make this happen. And there was also doubt in my mind. There was obviously that voice that gives, never work. Yeah. And lots of people who said that as well. So people are never short of giving you doubts and putting doubts in your head. That's true. But I had that faith. I had the faith that I could step out, that I could try it, that I could make it happen. And I had to deal with the doubts along the way. I had to deal with the naysayers, and I had to deal with that. And eventually it came to pass. Exactly the same process as when we came up with the idea of the Cornermen. We came up with this idea, and we started to have some faith that this could work. And we started, but there were also doubts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and we had to explore those doubts. But exploring the doubts, as you said earlier, pulling it apart made the idea stronger.
Yeah.
Because we took that idea for the Cornermen to various people.
We let it be pulled apart, didn't we?
Yeah. Will this work?
Yeah. Because there is that temptation to go, oh, let's hang on to it. Don't want people to say bad things about it.
Yes. Yes.
And we could have just gone, well, let's do what we do. And
because
we don't want to hear any bad things. But it's quite a painful process to have your idea, analysed.
Yes. But in the end, it makes the idea stronger.
Yeah.
And in the end, it strengthens your faith by exposing it to doubt.
It's why we've brought in trustees as well, because we could have carried on, just myself and you, but we need people to pull apart what we're doing a bit and analyse and bring in different bits to move it on.
Yes.
It can grow. And
also, we have faith that idea is the correct idea in the correct direction, and those are we have faith in those people.
Yeah.
So,
I'm a big, we're often talking as well in the service about turning a page, and because doing things that scare us is the best way to grow, because people have an image of what they want to be, and that's a great image to have when things aren't going so well. You can kind of enjoy this kind of dream of who you should be.
Yeah.
Then you see sometimes it gets a bit scary when the person that they potentially could be starts to happen. And I think that's a real point where people either dive back into addiction or whatever, because it's just so scary to take this, and it's understandable, this step to go, right, I'm going to try and be a different person. I'm going to take a step of faith. I'm going to leave the job I'm in, and I'm going to go and do this, or I'm going to make this massive change. And, you know, we can talk about it because it is scary, leaving a secure job to go and do something like the Cornermen, like we did, is scary. But thank God we did it, because otherwise, you know, we wouldn't be sat here with 300 men. We wouldn't be doing, you know, these podcasts and having, you know, doing some really great stuff, meeting some really great people. So if we had never, if we'd never taken that decision to do it, you know, we'd be who knows what we'd be doing, but, you know, I'd probably be insane doing the same job and thinking, oh, I wish I'd have done it, you know, but now I'm getting on to 46 and I'll stay here and I'll do my retirement. You don't know, I might not have done, but you see it, these crunch times. And even beautifully this week's been quite nice. I know we talk about but I went to see a guy who, you know, 3 years ago was living at his dad's. His mother had died. He was in a very bad space. He couldn't imagine himself living alone. He couldn't imagine himself getting a job. And this week he invited me around for a coffee to see his flat, you know, and he's working, he's got his own space, you know, and there was time he took those steps. And another one, like, wanted to meet for coffee because now he's given up, the addiction has gone, and he's now working and in a good relationship. So these guys, there were points where they had to make a step of faith. Yeah. They had, and belief in themselves that if I want to change, I've got to do something quite drastic, and it's scary. And these kind of crunch points that come along, people have to either take them or they don't take them. We have to. So. And
I was talking about that. Well, we're talking about that balance between faith and doubt as well. I mean, too much doubt, and you sort of alluded to it earlier, can lead to that self-sabotage.
Yeah.
You know, so at least, you know, you can self-sabotage and think this won't work, so I'll make sure it fucks up anyway.
Yeah.
So that's quite a common thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, you know, I mean, faith without doubt can be deluded.
Yeah.
If you just think I'm going to be a footballer, I'm going to be a pop star or something.
Or if I get in a boxing context, I think I'm great. I've done a few pads with John. I'm going to go and get in and spar with Joe Howard.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, no, Steve, you don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, you're not at that level. It's good that you've got the confidence.
Yeah.
But you're going to get your head staved in. You know, it's ridiculous. You need this kind of, like, you need the balance. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
The yin and the yang, if you like. But
well, it's walking that path, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So too much doubt. We see it, and that's another struggle. Is that the doubt for some people gets stuck. Just gets stuck, and often, if you say to someone whose voice is that, it's always interesting to reply. You know, whose voice in your head does it remind you of? And it's often a parent from a child. You know, just you're useless.
The voice that's pulling them down.
You know, because they'll be in the head. You're useless. You can't. In their own. You know, own. They'll be like, oh, you know, I'm so useless. Like, people who on the outside you think are doing very well, but inside they're like, I'm really, you know, I'm useless. I'm this. I'm that. I can never. You know, we talk about that burdensome. That's kind of what we always talking about. You know, and if you say to them, who does the voice in your head remind you of? Oh, it really reminds me of my dad or my mum, just always telling me how useless I was and stuff like that. So these kind of monologues kind of get in there for people, and the doubt is kind of like this perpetual, and they can't get it out because it's just in there, and that's where that's really tough for people. Because people are living almost in their head sometimes with like an abuser. They're just like so down on themselves, you know.
And what's the antidote to that? I mean, if that's the voice of doubt.
Well, I would probably say, you know, in that scenario, we're probably saying, you know, go and speak to a therapist, go and speak to someone, go and get a bit of CBT, go and get a bit of, you know, and keep coming to the Cornermen where we'll, you know, keep encouraging you. And people often practice what they're going to, because it's difficult to know what to say. So people are often practice what they're going to say to somebody else with us and say, that's fine. So a lot of the time we might have guys who are engaging in other services and then they're not quite sure about what's being said. And we just help them sort of interpret and allow them, give them time to kind of think about what's that. So we're probably, because we're sometimes the first point of call when someone's cut, they've never thought about it before. And so the question, who does that voice remind, has never been asked.
Yeah.
They've never sat down and said to anyone, oh, they've got these voices in their head, because they're walking around pretending, I'm all right, you know. They've never sort of sat down and said, I'm really struggling. And so that question makes them go, oh, I've not thought about it. And so, but even the kind of realisation, and then sometimes we sort of have arguments in their head, you know, I've got to argue back with this voice and say, no, that's wrong. You're not right. And then people get better at letting these, rather than holding on to the thoughts, they let them, trying to get them, rather than trying to let them go through. I mean, obviously, if someone is suffering with kind of obsessive compulsive disorder, these thoughts can get stuck. And they can get stuck. So that's where people need a bit of extra help. But, you know, argue with yourself. Argue back. You are the work. You can do this. You know, you're not like that. This and telling people how we see them. Do you know what? And often people are very bad at recognising there's good stuff that they've done. So when someone's talking to us and they're saying, but they might have done something like, you know, raised kids in really bad, or overcome really hard stuff. You know, this voice that's in their head, they might have overcome like being, you know, horrific abuse and doing well and working. And people are like, do you know what? You're doing okay. And then for people to have a different voice go, you know, from what you've told me, you're doing really well. Like, and people have struggled to let it in sometimes, but that kind of alternative voice, the kind of...
Well, I think there's a big lack of encouragement for certain people.
Yes.
Certain people in our society don't get encouraged.
Yeah.
And told that they can do things, and like you say, told that they're doing well already and they could do better.
Yeah.
Rather than, like you say, a voice saying, you know, you're doing pretty crap.
Yes.
And
people don't get told that they're loved.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, you think about it. You never know what's going on in someone else's home. You know, what experience, you know, we had our experiences growing up, fine, but you kind of assume that that's everybody's experience. And then, you know, some of the stories we hear, you know, what people have lived through is like you'd write the plot of a horror film, you know, when they're kids, you know, and so it's, you know, it's very hard for people, you know, understandably, people have not been shown, a lot of the time people have not been shown the right way to behave. So they're trying to find on their own way, you know, and deal with emotions. And so, you know, some of the things we sort of take for granted at times, I think, you know, people have okay, but I've never been shown, never been demonstrated.
Yeah.
Never been demonstrated what to do if I feel that I'm not going to make it. Well, if you've got a dad like yourself who said, well, my dad started a boxing club and he told me that he was doubt and people were doubting him, so you're telling your kids they know. If they've got a dad that just says, oh, you've fucking never done it, they're going to believe because that's the adult in their life. So it's really, you know, parenting and, you know, plays a massive part in how doubt and faith applies. Yeah. You know, as in the faith, if you've got parents who just say, this is the Christian faith, that's it. We'll excommunicate you from our family if you don't go along with that. Yeah. All right. Well, what are you going to do with that? So even it's a massive.
Well, doubt will come in, and you know, somebody will ask a question that you can't answer.
Yeah, yeah.
And which is, but the children ask the most interesting questions because my kids are always asking that as well. They're asking, what about evolution? What about this?
Yeah,
what about
exactly. What about dinosaurs?
Yeah,
that's a great question.
Yeah.
What about the dinosaurs?
So I love answering those questions and talking to them.
And when people don't say I don't know, people should say I don't know more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah. Well, if you don't know, you don't know. It's not a problem.
I always say, you know, I don't shout a lot about my faith. You'd probably say, to summarise, it would be a Christian faith in our culture. But, you know, it's about how you behave and what you do much more than what you say. And I would always just say to someone, look, it may not work for you. You may not, I don't know all the answers, but all I can say in my life, it's done me good. Yeah. And I can't speak for you. I can't speak for anyone else. I've only got to live my life. I can handle you. I can understand you thinking it's absolutely insane. I know, but I would have to be insane. I'm either stupid or I'm insane. You make the choice of just look at me and judge me on my actions.
Well, the corresponding question to that is, you know, is interesting about faith. Yeah. Because, like you say, people say, "Oh, it sounds insane." So, you know, I mean, you could make an insane conjecture. So I could say, listen, so you're telling me that a 2,000-year-old Nazarene carpenter is going to come back from the dead and take you to heaven. And that's what you believe. That's what you believe. I mean, that's fucking insane.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but then the corresponding question I always, you know, if people say the similar things to me, is like, oh, what do you believe?
Well, yeah, I always love, because the evolution one is always great, because someone says, what, so you believe that God made... And I say, well, you tell me your theory. Well, there was nothing. What? There was nothing. Then bang. Right. Well, they both sound insane to me. So much.
Yeah.
Well, there was nothing, and the universe has expanded. all right, okay. Well, they both sound mental to me. So
But that's so. But let's say if you use that phraseology, and I don't want to, and is that so there was a little dot, right?
And where was the dot?
Before the dot, there was nothing.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, the dot just created itself out of nothing, which I know is impossible, but it happened.
Yeah.
And what's that? That's faith.
Yes.
That's a miracle.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a miracle.
Yeah.
And then out of the dot went pop. Right. Energy called into mass.
Yeah.
And mass started living.
Yeah.
Maybe the fish fell, a monkey.
Fish crawled out to the sea. Little fish crawled out to sea.
And everything arranged itself into stars and planets and hamburgers and dinosaurs for no reason whatsoever. That's the important bit.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it just happened. It just did.
Yeah.
And
there's no meaning, no purpose.
There is a process,
Yeah.
but there's no purpose. And we're not quite sure how. And we don't care why.
Yes.
So, which is an answer.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's an answer. And it may be an answer as crazy as my answer, but it's not crazier.
No. Yeah, exactly. So that's it was always
But it's very interesting to ask people because sometimes people haven't even thought about what they believe.
Yeah,
they may sort of define themselves in opposition to things they have no faith in, but they're not really quite sure what they have faith in.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's important to think. I think live by faith because faith is generally, if you look at those two things again, faith and doubt. If you live by doubt, you're crippled. Well, it won't work. It can't happen. Everything will go wrong. That's doubt.
Yeah.
If you live by that, you get absolutely crippled, and it's a cripple. What it does is it stops you acting in the world because nothing will work. So if you live by faith, then you think, well, I could create this. I could do this.
Yeah.
I could trust that person. I could go on and I could create. I could make. I could do. I could expand. I could help.
I like
all
that.
these things are. Yeah. But you live by that faith. But you also have to balance that it's not always going to work. And it's not, and things can go wrong. And when things go wrong, you can act in a way that may be able to fix them. But that's living with the balance of faith and doubt.
Yeah, well, I quite like what you're saying that faith is a creative force.
Yes,
in
absolutely.
Order to create, you have to.
And doubt is a debilitating force.
Debilitating force.
But it's necessary for faith. It underpins faith. I think if faith exists without doubt, I think faith becomes ugly, and I think it becomes the opposite of faith.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it becomes that fundamentally rigid, brittle.
Yeah.
Structure that stops thought. It does stop doubt, but it also stops thought. And then if you go too far on the doubt side, you'll get crippled and you'll just be a slave to inaction anyway.
Yeah.
So it's getting that balance right. But I would say I don't think you can have faith without doubt, but you need to have faith. That's the most important thing. And I think faith in that you can go forward, you can create things, you can do things.
Yeah, yeah.
You can go out into the world, and you can create the world. A world that you would rather be in.
And that's why it's so important we all encourage each other.
Yeah.
You can do it. We have faith in you. A lot of the time we're telling people, we got faith in you. We can see the potential in you.
Yeah.
And actually if you try it, imagine the version of you that could be.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, we're in a short life. If it doesn't, what?
Yeah.
You tried.
Well, it's interesting. That's the most common regret on deathbeds is not what people tried and failed to do, but it's what they didn't do.
Well, I mean, we're being blunt. We're talking to a lot of people that death is is being considered. I want to end my life.
Yeah.
So if you've given up, if you've got nothing to lose, why not fucking try it?
Yeah.
If you already say there's nothing, give it a go. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're already considering, I want to go.
Yeah,
so there's nothing to lose. Let's give it a go.
Yeah.
And so and then people do make that. But often when you see people make that step, and there's something in the realization of, I can do this. Especially when people are encouraging them. It really means support and encouragement is so important for all of us, for any of us. And so it's great to see people like the two fellas this week. That were in a dark place. And now they're kind of, they would not say, I had a great quote last week, which was not, my life isn't easier, but my outlook is different.
Yeah.
My life has not got any easier from when I threw myself into the river.
Yeah.
But my outlook now is different.
Yeah.
And I'm taking the challenges. And so, they're, these are amazing fellas, great stuff to come from despair. And, a lot of them have not had easy lives.
Yeah.
And to get themselves into this bit, and then a lot of the time they're then saying, I want to give back. They want to help. They want to put that faith in other people.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
But it's just reminded me, I'm going a bit off track now, but what you said then just reminded me of like
a song.
You know that Shakespeare quote. There's nothing good or bad.
You do love to. You do love to throw a quote.
I like a bit shaky. There's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
Yes.
From Hamlet.
Yeah.
Which is worth pulling apart and thinking about. And it goes on. I could be bound within a nutshell, and yet count myself a king of infinite space, but that I have bad dreams.
I wish I had your memory.
But what it brought me to is about faith. And so thinking about that, there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. I mean, talking about faith, and it reminded me of another thing I was thinking about when I was talking about this. There was a Scottish MP, a Scottish Labour MP, a few years ago, and he had the most unfortunate set of circumstances. He lost 5 children, by the time he was like 65.
Yeah.
All through illness, car accidents.
Yeah.
If one of these things happened to someone, it would be a pivotal change in your life. Obviously, to lose a child is terrible for anyone. But he lost 5 children through these just completely random acts. What would you call them? Acts of God? I don't know. And I remember someone talking to him and saying, how do you have a faith? And he said, yes, I do have faith. And they said, how can you have a faith when these things have happened to you? How can you possibly, as in one of these things would be immensely challenging to anyone's faith. You've had this run of them. How could you possibly have a faith? How could you possibly believe in a God that has a plan, that controls the universe, that could have prevented all these things if you chose to? How could you? And he said, if I didn't have faith, I would have gone completely insane. If I didn't believe in God, if I didn't believe that there was some sort of purpose, if I didn't believe that I was going to see my children again, I would go completely insane. He said, so these things have actually strengthened my faith, not weakened my faith. I thought that was a fascinating answer.
It is, and we're often talking about, meaning and purpose. And if you have a faith, you kind of believe in there's a meaning and purpose to your life, and there might be trials that come along, but you've got something to kind of hold on to, which is not, I'm just suffering for no reason.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Things are not things because the universe is not completely random and meaningless.
So
this is random, and this is the thing. If you are suffering, you can endure almost any suffering if there's a purpose to it, if there's an outcome to it, if there's a cause to it. If the suffering is random and meaningless, it's very, very difficult to deal with.
And that's the danger of taking away faith. Just what you're taking, you don't realise what you're taking away. This is that kind of structure, if you like, the kind of framework of what we're doing.
Yeah.
There's a kind of goal we're on a way to be. So interesting.
Right, well there you go.
Oh,
faith and doubt. Faith is great. Doubt is necessary, but not too much.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to just forward one to the end and sum it up.
Yeah, cool.
But I thought it was a very interesting idea. And like I say, that doubt is, you think of doubt as a negative thing. And if you could just get rid of all the negatives, everything would be much more positive. But I think you must have to have true faith, whether it's in a belief in creating something and doing something, or whether it's a belief in God. I don't think you have a true faith without doubt.
Yeah.
That's my conclusion.
I concur.
There you go.
Yeah.
Episode 12 done. We'll be back soon.
12, yeah. Thanks, Marky.
Thanks, Marky.